Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. This is the Global Love Podcast, where we share stories around the love within the global expert communities. And my name is Rosalia. I'm your host, and I'm joined by the amazing, esteemed author, Nicole Littlejohn. And obviously, this episode is in collaboration with the Visual Book Tour 2024. And in the audience, we also have the founder of Active Core, Mrs. Jennifer, who is going to give us an introduction about the Visual Book Tour before we start talking to our author. Mrs. R. Jennifer and Mrs. Nicole, I'm so happy to be here with all of you. This is a live recording, and I know that we'll have some people joining on the call later. And our conversation will really be led by where the spirit takes us. But before we greet our author, let me greet Mrs. Jennifer and just give us a few words, maybe talk about the Visual Book Tour 2024. Mrs. Jennifer, please, you can introduce yourself and talk about the Visual Book Tour before we start talking to our author. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Rose, and thank you for partnering with us again this year. We are so grateful that you have been with us from the beginning, from the conception, from the conceptualization of this vision of having people, authors, specifically sharing their stories of love, trauma, rejection, abuse. People who have taken the courage to write and publish. Hats off to all of us who have done that. And we are ready to share our stories with the world. So this virtual book tour began last year. After I published my second book, I realized that I wanted people to hear stories because stories have the power to shape society, to shape families and communities. And so last year we launched the first leg of our book tour with 12 authors. This year we have 30 authors on board with us from 9 countries, different genres, and of course we have more hosts who are coming on like Rose, who are helping these authors to share their stories across multiple platforms of YouTube, Instagram, WeChat, WhatsApp, TikTok, all of these. And the journey has just been phenomenal. It has just been wonderful. And I applaud my authors again for choosing to come on this tour, for choosing to share their stories using these platforms, because truly these stories have been impacting, inspiring, empowering people globally, and we are just beginning. So today I want to congratulate Nicole again for her wonderful book. She continues to write and to inspire, and through her, I have met other authors who have been able to share their stories as well. So thank you, Nicole, and I wish you all the best. Thank you once more for this program, Rose. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Jennifer. I really appreciate that kindness and kind words, and also just what you're doing in our global community. It is really impactful, and we appreciate that. Now, let's get into the juicy part, which is speaking to our author, Mrs. Nicole. Yes, hello, Mrs. Nicole. Where are you joining us from? And also, please give us an introduction of yourself, and then we'll get started with the book and the story. Yes.
Okay, hi, and of course, hi everyone who will be watching us. I am joining from Santiago de Chile. It is the middle of, well, not the middle of, but winter just started, so it's really very cold here. Myself, I am a wife, a mother, a writer, a teacher. Um, I I wear many hats, okay? But of course, writing is one of my passions. I enjoy it. It helps me in many ways to just express myself. And of course, I also love to share my stories with everyone. Okay, after I got over my first published book, like the first time I published. From there, I just want to keep writing and writing and writing. And of course, the feedback has led me to want to write more. Yes, that's me in a nutshell.
That's amazing. Yeah. Maybe before we get, what is your current published book or stories? I know one. If you have more, you can also share with us. Yes, today, which story do you even want us to focus on?
Oh, we can always focus on this book, okay? Because currently I am writing part two. Okay. But I also have another book called You Are My Entire Plan, and it is also available on Amazon. Okay. That was my second book. But we can focus on this one because this is my baby.
All right, all right. If love had a heart, what an
Yes.
interesting title. Let's get in the juicy part of writing. When did you
Mhm.
start writing? How did you get into it? And maybe start off with telling the audience and the listeners why, if love had a heart.
Okay. Well, I started writing at a very young age. Okay. Um, I was writing in high school, well, mainly in high school, I would say, because I was writing before that, inspired by my older sister, of course, who was also writing. She loved to write poetry. She would come home from school, and this book about I don't know, Macbeth and doing this and that. And of course, she was 4 years older than me. So that was my hero. That was my base. Okay. So I was inspired from then to start expressing myself. In high school, I was writing plays. I wrote a poem in fifth form, no, sixth form, called Pussy. Okay, Pussy. And that got the bronze medal at one of our national festivals. Okay. It took me like 5 minutes to get that poem done because I was so just a little backstory about that poem because supposedly I was going to represent my school. Okay. And I was supposed to find a poem that was a mix of English and Jamaican patois. And I could not find one that I liked. There were so few. Louise Bennett, of course, she's the best. But I wanted something a little out of the norm. Yeah, everyone always does her poems, and they are fantastic. I know exactly why they always do her poems. Um, but I decided that, I wanted something a little bit new, a little bit fresh, and I couldn't find one. So I was so frustrated. I was like, okay, let me just write this. It came to me. I wrote it down in 5 minutes, vetted it with my mom. And when I went to school, it was bigger than me. I could not perform. Like I couldn't be that person. So they had to give it to another student. And it got the bronze medal. But from there, I was like, oh my God, I have something special. I can do this. And I started writing If Love Had a Heart while I was still in high school because of situations that I observed going on around me. And it took me 20 years to actually publish If Love Had a Heart. So that's why I said it's my baby. It is my book. It will forever be with me. And I am currently working on If Love Had a Soul, which is part two to this book. Mhm.
Wow, wow. You mentioned something so profound that I'm sure that our listeners are interested. Maybe you say that you noticed that you had something special, yeah,
Mhm.
in the journey of you discovering your writing journey. You mentioned something very profound to say you have something special. What was that special thing that you're talking about? And also, yes, who inspired that special thing? I know you mentioned of your sister who was 4 years older than you. Was there
Mhm.
anything else that inspired you for finding that voice in writing?
Well, I was reading as well. I was reading. I read so many books, so many books at my local library. I wouldn't enter through the front doors, okay? I was a part of the library. So I entered through the back. I had access to everything. I was there so often. I knew everyone by name. They knew me. They're like, "Oh yeah, okay, it's Little John. Hi, what's up?" You know? Of course, that was a big thing for me because I saw all of these authors e- expressing themselves, telling stories, and those stories also helped me to escape. Okay. So when things were hard, when I was stressed at school or stressed at home, I would just escape into these wonderful places. I traveled the world and galaxies through books. Okay. And of course, I had very supportive teachers at school. My mom was really supportive. That poem that I wrote, there's a part in the poem I was like, oh my God, I cannot show this to my mother. What did I write? She's going to be so upset. And when I went and I showed it to her, she was like, okay, add this. Okay. Which to me was like, it was big. It was really big because one, I was afraid to show her. And not only was she okay with it, she said, okay, just tweak this little part right here, you know? I was like, oh my God, okay. So it's acceptable. Once I got her approval, all was well. I didn't have a problem showing it at school or anything like that. Um, but that special thing, I think it it grows with you. It grows with you. Okay, it's not, I cannot specifically say, okay, it's this, I did this, or I am doing this. It's just that small still voice that says to you, okay, everyone is asleep, let's just escape for 2 hours or 3 hours and write. Okay. Just go and write whatever you need to write. And that, I would say, has been with me from the very beginning. Okay, knowing that there is something I want to say, there is something worth reading. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. You shared that, and I can imagine someone somewhere writing and also just wondering if someone it will be too much for people to listen or read, if it will be relatable, if it will be loved. I think those are the questions that artists and creators and even authors as yourself go through. Now, if love, if love had a heart, if love had a heart, let's dissect the title. If love
Mhm.
had a heart. Yeah, if really love had a heart, hey, what would you say? What made you feel this was the title of your book? Who did you dedicate the book to?
Mm.
Let's get into it.
All right. So let me just do the dedication first, okay? And then I will tell you about the title. So this book is about so many people. First and foremost, of course, is my family, my husband, who is incredibly supportive. He's just my rock, my strength, my everything. He's the one that goes, okay, you can do it. And he truly believes that. Okay. And I'm just like, oh, I'm not even sure what. And he's like, don't worry, I'll get you there. You'll get it done. All right. you know. But of course, I have, well, first it's my family, um, and my friends. My friends. I have found family in my friends. Okay. People that would read draft after draft after draft after draft. Okay. And get back to me and be like, Nicole, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And they do it with a smile. Now, looking back, I'm like, oh my God, did I really pressure my friends this much? These poor people. And they never complained. They never complained. Okay, they were always there to support me, to encourage me, to say, "Oh, this sounds really, really good. Let's do this. Let's do that." It's amazing. Okay, that kind of support, I think not a lot of people understand how valuable that truly is when you have like a small group that will be there with you, for you, whatever you need. It is priceless. It's priceless. Yeah. So those are my inspirations and my support. And of course, I dedicated the book to them. I called names. Okay. It's in here.
Yeah.
I called names. And the title itself, If Love Had a Heart. Love is something that we are still trying to define. We are still trying. Some of the greatest minds have tried to define love. We can't pin it down. What we do know is that love is quite painful. It takes work, okay? And sometimes that pain, especially when you have lost love, it is an undescribable pain. And for everyone, it is definitely different, okay? But we always think, oh, if I had a heart, or if this person had a heart, but does love have a heart? Does it does it love us? Okay, we strive so much to find love, to give love. Love is it is a very intricate part of the human condition, the human story, the human journey. We can't do anything else without it. Okay, we always keep circling back, we always keep coming back to it. All right, it is what connects us. You can just be passing someone on the street, and that love, yeah, you're like, oh my God, this person is homeless, or this person is hurt, or this is a child. That's love. That's love right there. You cannot pin it down. So people have tried to dissect it. People have tried different ways to make it make sense. But it is when you feel it that you can say, okay, this is love. Okay. So the title, the title was hard. Every part of this book was a struggle. Every part of this book. There was one point where I just said, okay, this is going to be the book without a title. And I wrote, you, the reader will decide on the title. It was difficult to come to a decision that this is a title. But once I heard it, I was like, this is it. This is definitely it. Okay. And after I finished, the following title was so much easier: If Love Had a Soul. Okay, but of course, as always, the key, the root, the middle, love. Love.
Wow, wow, wow. You heard me. I was on a journey, even just creating images of myself, of what could be in the book. What could be in the book? Because I think you have really mentioned profound and powerful statements that relate to a lot of us. We try to define love. What is love? How can we experience love? What does love make us feel like? And I can even see the sequence of the genres of books that you're going to bring out from this first story that you've already created. Now, if the listeners would love to pick up this book, tell me what love are they going to pick up from the book?
Okay, so it is young, impossible love. It is young, impossible love. We've all been there, our first spark of a romantic relationship. Okay. How do you navigate that space? What is our experience at 14, 15, 16, 17? What do we have behind us to say, okay, this is love? How do we even know that this is our first love? It's almost like someone tells you, oh, you're in love. And then you're like, oh my God, what? This is it? This is what it feels like? Okay. So both my characters have a very long way. Yeah, and we follow them through their journey of self-discovery and kind of discovering each other, and especially for the female character, she is discovering that there are other people in the world, okay? Things that you can feel passionate about. All right. At the beginning, we see her in her own little space and she's just going along, minding her own business, just trying to get through high school. And then she meets Michael. Oh my God, Michael. Okay. And she starts at that time also to see other people in the world. Okay. And to understand that there are other conditions, other things that people are going through that are outside of her space. And she is thrust out of her comfort zone to find love, to find him, to find the others, okay, that are around her that are going through their own story.
I'm glad you're bringing that into the world, or you brought it. And I think it's really pivotal, especially in communities where we still are trying to discover what is love feels like, or what is it like. Now, speaking on the diaspora community, diaspora people living in other countries, maybe that's also their initial place of origin, right? Some people have given up on finding love. Do you feel the book will inspire the audiences to be persistent, hopeful of love? And do you feel like love sometimes will run away from others, run out for others?
I would hope not. I would hope not, because I found love. Okay. I'm Jamaican living in Chile. We are a huge group of like 10 Jamaicans living here. Oh, such, oh my God. But I would like to think that love can surprise us. Okay. Love, I think it's easier to find love when you're not looking for it. Okay. When you start to look for love, you can sometimes slip over into desperation. I want this so much. I want it. I want it. But love is not something that you have to run after or gobble it up. It will find you. It will find you. And again, it is that moment where you're just like, oh my God, did I really do that? Why did I do that? I'm in love. What? Yes. Love sometimes can be a surprise, and it's always a wonderful surprise. At least in my experience. In my experience, it has always been a surprise. Yes, yes. And of course, remember, love is not just romantic love. Okay, there are several forms of love, and equally important to our well-being. Of course, romantic love is amazing. So amazing. So amazing. So amazing. I've been married now for over a decade. Over a decade. And I spend majority of my day with my husband. Okay? And we still sometimes get distracted just playing. Okay, just playing. Like two crazy people. My kids are like, oh my God. I'm sure by the time they get to teenagers, they're just like, listen, guys, enough is enough. You're old people now. Cut this out. Okay, but you the idea of growing with someone, okay? The idea of growing with someone and having that support, that constant loving support, romantic love, okay? But then again, I'm also a mom. So you have that other level of love. Love is, you can't pin it down. It cannot be pinned down.
Yes. Right. Can you read us the summary of the book, or
A
give us some.
summary.
Yes,
Okay, so I
or
will
some
give you.
sentences. Yes, you can give us some summary of the book or some
Mhm.
sentences that will spark the audiences to go and purchase the book and all that. Yes.
Okay, so one little detail that is not a very little detail about this book is that it is quite controversial. Okay, I think I might have buried the lead here, but my two characters find love, find each other, find themselves in the context of HIV/AIDS. Okay, I might have buried the lead. Okay, but it is it's a controversial topic because not many people are willing or prepared to talk about HIV/AIDS, which, you know, I completely understand. But as parents, because I have two kids, we don't, or rather, we are uncomfortable, or oftentimes uncomfortable, with the idea of our children finding love in a difficult situation, more difficult than what it needs to be. Because when you think teenage love, you're thinking, oh, they're in high school and things are just going well and they're just having a ball and life is life. But these two individuals will have to face so much more at a very young age. Okay, you have tolerance, you have society's prejudices. Okay, how will I be seen? All right, how will I be able to love this person? How can I allow myself to be loved? Okay, so this is why I said it's quite a controversial topic, because it's an uncomfortable topic for many of us. Okay, but the book is not just for teenagers, though it's about them. There is a lot of information for us as more mature adults to educate ourselves, okay, to prepare for the question. All right, there are things that we don't want to think about for many, many, many of us. Okay, the topic of sex, quite uncomfortable for many persons. They have the talk, which I firmly believe should be a conversation. Okay, an ongoing, long term, everyday conversation. I get questions from my 8-year old that will shock me, and I'm just like, okay, Nicole, relax, calm down, okay? Age appropriate, always, of course, that goes without saying. But if there is a question, it needs to be answered. And you should always be the safe space. Because if you are not talking to your children, someone else is. Okay? So, this is also one of the things I wanted to spark. I want persons to join the conversation, talk to their children, educate them on how to be safe. All right? We all deserve love. We all deserve to have that special person with us 100% within a safe space. It is very, very possible. Okay. So, again, even though it is quite a sensitive topic, I do believe it is definitely worth the read. Okay. Step outside of your own comfort zone. Okay, you might find yourself in a position where you will have to talk about heavy topics, and HIV is quite a heavy topic. Prepare yourself mentally, and it's not just a conversation with your kids, with your friends, with your coworkers. It just might come up. Okay, unfortunately, but if it were to come up, maybe you should be prepared. Okay, when I started this book, and one of the inspirations for this book, or the main inspiration actually, I was in high school and I saw how my neighbors were being treated, persons that were suffering from HIV or AIDS. Okay, the stigma, the discrimination, that's not love. Okay, it wasn't love. And even as a young person, a young girl, I could identify that is not love. Okay, how would I want to be treated? How do we treat each other? Okay, and this is why I decided to write it, and I also decided I would not write anything else until this book was finished. I had to write it. Okay, so I have this one, and of course it sees them at the very beginning, finding each other, dealing with difficult situations. And if love had a soul, sees them as adults. Okay, which also means I have a lot more liberties. Okay, so they are
Yeah.
in my second book, they are in a more adult space. Okay,
Talking about
so
50 Shades stuff
Yeah.
here right now. 50 Shades.
I will tell
No.
you yes. Okay, I will tell you yes. But what I always want to show people, show my readers, my friends, everyone, you can have it all in a safe space. In a safe space. Okay, 50 Shades level books don't often talk about how to keep ourselves safe, how to keep our partners safe, while still having all of that fun.
Yes.
So that is what my readers can expect from If Love Had a Soul. I wrote the end. Okay. But usually when I am writing, it is so much. I have my story in my head and I have my plan, and I know she's going to say this and she's going to say that and he's going to respond this way and that way. And then he's going to turn around and all of these wonderful things. At 2 a.m., I will have this thought. I come to my computer, I sit, I start to write. Nobody says anything I thought of. Okay. They just go off on their own. And I'm just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, wow, wait. Remember my plan? This is what I had planned. Nah, no. It all depends on what the flow is at that moment. My characters surprise me all the time. Okay. So, so yes, I wrote
Wow.
the end, and that's my first draft now. So I hopefully will have the second book out and ready by the end of this year. Okay, I had promised my readers the end of last year because I thought it was just going to be such a breeze. But my characters are really important to me. At the end of our last book tour, I did a series of podcasts where I spoke to persons who were surviving HIV. And of course, I also spoke to medical personnel. Some were there from the very beginning. Okay. So now I have all of this information. It was like a wave of new information. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot more and more current information. Okay. So that some of it will be included in If Love Had a Soul. But my characters are fiction, the story is fiction, but I tried as best as possible to ensure that the information as it relates to AIDS and HIV, those are current and those are accurate. Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. such a powerful story. As I said earlier, I would love you to also maybe just go through this book if love had a heart and read to the persons or the audiences 1 or 2 lines,
Oh,
anything
wow.
that you feel like you want to read to them, and then you can start talking about, if HIV is still there, people can still get it, right? I mean, we can still get infected if we do not take care of ourselves. Is the story also really talking about maybe already information that is existing, or it's obviously a story that is not true but inspired by the HIV scenarios or things that we've seen? You've mentioned about discrimination. Are people going to get into the book and say, oh, this is like a movie, I'm watching a movie, but there is HIV as an issue? Or it's more like an educational thing where you say, okay, these are the statistics, this is what happened. Or if you don't take care of yourself, yes. After you read, you can talk on some those type of scenarios. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I found a little bit here. I'm hoping it's not too long. Um, just just to be sure.
Yes. You can
Okay.
read even just a paragraph.
Okay. It's not very long. Okay. So,
Yeah.
um, just to set the scene, they are sitting, they're talking. He's educating her. Okay. And he says something along the lines of condoms are a must. Uh, right. So, and do you? I asked hesitantly. Do I what? He raised an eyebrow. Use a condom every time. Are you asking me my sexual history, Callie? He smiled, half intrigued and half embarrassed. Yes, Michael, full disclosure. I tilted my chin upward. The conversation had shifted. Okay. So that conversation is really difficult even for adults. Even for adults. How do I approach this situation with my prospective partner? One would hope prospective partner. Okay. How do we do that? So we see this very young girl approaching certain topics from a very safe space. Of course, there are mistakes that she will make, and it is a learning process for both of them. Okay. But yeah, I thought that this is one of the pivotal um, scenes in the book. And it is a very real topic for many of us. Okay. And it's a very difficult topic for us. And of course, in the education of persons who are younger, telling them, you know what, you need to ask for someone's sexual history. Okay. Don't be afraid to do that. Okay. Work it into any conversation. Maybe not a public conversation, but definitely get the information. Definitely get the information. Okay. So yeah. Oh my God. I love this book.
Yeah, that scene is so pivotal, as you mentioned, because I've seen it. Obviously, it's hard for us to speak about this. Speaking
Mhm,
about even just falling in love, that's hard. Speaking
mhm,
about when people come together and what they want, where they could be heading to if they see that they have a connection or something, right? And
mhm,
even harder when people now start having sexual intercourse, speaking about sexual history. Some people choose to completely cut the story out and say, no, I don't speak about my past. My past is my past.
mhm,
So please do not try to bring up the past, right? Those are really, really important things. And
mhm,
oftentimes, I think some of the hardest conversations are around sex, finances,
mhm,
in one way or the other. And you bringing it up in this book in a fun way and yet more like I was already imagining people on the bed, a scene in a movie. So,
Mm-hmm.
Nicole,
Mm-hmm.
I am
Mm-hmm.
sure you've written really powerful book.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you to speak on issues on parents speaking to their children about
Mm-hmm.
sexual issues or how can they do it in a safe space. Do you tell young ones 14, 16 that you can do it but don't, you can have use a condom as the characters in your book are speaking of using a condom, right? Or you
Mm-hmm.
entirely tell the young ones to say wait until university until you have your own money. And yeah, did you highlight some of those issues?
I did, and also in my podcast, I spoke a lot on the conversation. But let me just first let your audience know that my book is more like a movie. Okay, it's a relationship between these two people, and they are just going around in kind of a whirlwind, heady. Oh my God, this is my situation. Now I'm in love, and these wonderful things come with that. It is, there is information in the book, okay? But though HIV is pivotal to their situation, they are the story, okay? It is more about how they deal with it. All right. And how they come together and how they find love and allow themselves to be loved. Okay. I would love for this book to be a movie. That would be awesome. So awesome. Okay. But as for the conversation with with your
Young
kids,
ones.
I
Yes.
I think that, and I use this all the time, if you have a pool at your house and you have kids, it is very likely they are going to find themselves in the pool. Okay. You might not always be there. You might not always be there. So what do we do? Do we put up all these barriers and say, oh, wait until college, wait until this, don't do that, don't do that? Or do we instead teach our kids to swim? Teach them to swim. Give them the information that they need. Allow them to understand that you will always be there. Whether they can swim, whether they're drowning, what you are their lifeline. If they need anything, they must come to you. Okay? Teach them to swim. So it will not matter if it is in high school, if it's in college, if they are 40 years old, it will not matter. You will have given them the tools required at any age, at any time to say, okay, this is okay for me, or that is okay for me. You know what? I don't feel safe. I'm going to call my mom. Okay? Leave that door forever open. Don't say things like, oh, if you get pregnant, I'm kicking you out. That's not okay. Give them the tools to make the best decision even when you are not there, because we as parents cannot make the decision for them. And if they are going to have sex, they're going to have sex. We cannot be with them 24 hours. You must give them the tools so that they can handle the situation for themselves. They will surprise you so many times. Okay? They will surprise you, but they are adults in training, especially those teenagers, adults in training. All right. And I mentioned teenagers, but I am telling you, my 8-year old has questions. Questions. I thought, based on my experience and my and my and my upbringing, I thought these questions would be maybe when he was like 14 or 15. No, no, no. Okay, so prepare yourself and allow them the space. allow them the space. The moment you shut that conversation down, I don't know anything about that. Oh, why are you asking me that? Oh, who said that? Let me find them. No, you're my baby. These are not things that you should be talking about. Okay, mommy, I won't talk about it anymore. And that's what you see. But when they go off to school, when they go off wherever, they will have these conversations anyway, be a part of that conversation. Yeah.
Wow. To giving tools to our young ones because they will swim some days.
Yes. Yes.
Powerful, powerful, really, really, really powerful. And the way you express yourself, the way your creativity is coming across as you speak, I hope that the audience are able to pick that up. Nicole, I should say you are super talented. And
Thank you.
that's amazing. That's amazing. And I want you to speak on how can the people get the book? How can they get it? Physical or ebook? Just give them all that and also speak on your company, organization, creativity. Where else can people reach you? Or
Mhm.
yes.
Okay, so my book is available. Well, both books, this book and You Are My Entire Plan, they are on Amazon. You can get the ebook. You can also get the physical copy. Okay, this one was gifted to me by my very good friend and also my supporter. Okay, um, you can get it on Amazon. You can also go to my website, which is very, very easy, NicoleLittlejohn.com. Okay, you can go there and you can find links to back to Amazon. Um, yeah, so that is where you can find both my books, and very soon you will see book number 3, which is the second part to this book. All right, I am hopeful that it will be ready. It must be ready by the end of this year. It is a very, very important book, equally important as this one, and I am definitely not going to take another 20 years. I have persons who read this book and they're like, "Oh my God, you're writing the second part? When am I gonna get it?" And to be fair, to be fair, I want to, or rather, I'm taking the time necessary to ensure that book number 2 is equally enjoyable or even more enjoyable, because again, we grow as writers. Okay, so I am taking the time and I am giving it the love and the care that it requires. These are my characters, these are my babies. I've been with them for so long. I feel like I could just pick up the phone and go like, "Hey, Callie, what are you doing this weekend?" They are very real to me. Okay. So of course you will also see book number 3, If Love Had a Soul, on Amazon very, very soon. Very soon.
Amazing. Before I let the audience give you one or two questions, which is
Mhm.
we have Emmy on the call, we have Mrs. Jennifer on the call as well. I would allow them in a short while to give one or two questions to you.
Mhm.
I want you to also mention, you mentioned of your podcast. Is it a
Mhm.
seasonal podcast? Is it a weekly podcast? You can speak on that as well. If they can reach you on social media, maybe someone just want to speak to you and say, I resonated with you from this story. I have read the book. I want to DM you or email you. You can also do that.
Mhm.
Yes,
My
give us some.
my my podcasts, I did, I think, 6 episodes um
Yeah.
at the end of last year, and I am also considering doing another series this year. I'm just trying to get my my life situated, because of course, as writers, we would love to have that, the glass window overlooking like this beautiful scene where you could just write, but life continues to happen. Okay. So of course I'm trying to organize myself, my family, my space, um but I want to do another series of podcasts. Okay. For now, you can reach me directly by email, NicoleLittlejohnBooks@gmail.com. Okay. You can also find my email address on my website, NicoleLittlejohn.com. Um, and I will respond to you. Okay, I will respond. I want to hear your questions, your story, your critique. If you just want to talk, you can also just send me a message and say, "Oh my God, Nicole, I found this or whatever." I'm there. Okay, I'm there. I'm there. I want to meet my audience. I want to talk to the people. Um, on my I have my podcasts, Little John Listens. You can find that on YouTube. You can also find it on Spotify. Okay, and you can listen to the episodes if you so choose. The stories are quite powerful. The information is also there. Um, yes, I think that's it. I think that's it. But reach out because I am listening, believe it or not, and I want to hear all of it. Hopefully, I will do another series of podcasts at the end of this year. Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
That's amazing, Nicole. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for sharing with us your powerful story. I would love to ask Mrs. Jennifer if she has any question for Nicole. She can shoot that question, or Emmy, who just joined us. Thank you so much, Emmy, for joining us. We really appreciate your presence. I know you came in a little bit late, but I'm sure you have heard or picked up one or two things already. Give any question. The floor is open before we let our author give her final words to the audiences. But for now, I would love, Emmy, do you have anything to say? Or Mrs. Jennifer, do you have anything to say?
I have a little question. For me, I have sort of given up on love, Nicole. It's just been such a long time. I'm a divorcee, single mom, and I just don't think there's anyone out there for me anymore. Too many relationships and all that. So I've taken on a life of celibacy. Um, what advice would you give me? You said previously, though you shouldn't really look for love. It will find you. So what would you say to
Mhm.
someone like me who has just said to themselves, this is it, that door is closed, that ship has sailed. What do you say?
Well, I would say do not, it is important to love ourselves. Okay. Self love is also important. Okay. You can take the time, sorry, you can take the time necessary to work on yourself. All right. You can take the time necessary to say, okay, I'm a single mom. I'm going to do this for my child, with my child together. All of that, that is perfectly fine. The only issue I have is you're closing the door. Don't close the door. Never close the door. Okay. Of course, do not just open, I don't know, the whole gate and be like, oh no, yes, sure, fine, but allow yourself that space, that hope, that at some point you will find that person, or that person will find you. Okay. And if that does happen, be willing to act on it. Okay. So a lot of us have been hurt. I cannot deny that. And your feelings are 100% valid. If I keep putting my my hand into the fire and I get burned, how can you therefore say to me, keep putting your hand in the fire? But from fire we get amazing food. Okay. So I will tell you, don't give up on it. Okay, don't give up on it. At some point, you might and you should find someone that is worthy of your saying, okay, I'm going to take this leap, because it is a leap. But if you find and when you find that person, and you can say, okay, this is it. Okay, he is it. Be open to that. Always leave that space. Always leave that door open. Love is for everyone. Okay. And like I said, romantic love, amazing. Absolutely amazing. I recommend it. I recommend it.
Thank you. That is
Thanks
a very
so much.
profound question. Thank you, Jennifer, for asking that. I'm sure a lot of us will relate to that. And thank you, Nicole, for giving us that vulnerable, honest, beautiful, fresh air. Today, I'm going to walk away from this conversation feeling so much like ignited, you know? Yes. Emmy, do you have any last question before our author gives us the final thoughts? Emmy, do you have any question? Yes? Can you hear us? Oh, in the chat. Okay. Let me see. I really enjoyed your passion. Okay. I really enjoyed your passion about being open with children. And no, Jenny, there's definitely love in the world for you. Agreed. Don't close the door. So, right. Emmy is asking what inspired you to write the book? Because she came in a little bit late. What inspired you to write the book? Maybe you can give us a few words on that.
Okay, no problem. When I was back in high school, I saw how persons were being treated, persons who had HIV or AIDS. Okay. I saw the discrimination, I saw the suffering. Okay. Persons were being locked in dark rooms, forgotten pillars of the community, family members. All right. I did not appreciate that. I don't think that I, or rather, if I were in that situation, what would I do? What could I do? Okay. For many of those persons, they need someone to speak for them before they can speak themselves. Okay. And I didn't agree with that. I didn't agree with it. And the government also put on like a campaign to tell people you don't have to burn furniture because someone with HIV sat on it. Okay? You don't have to give anyone their special spoon or their special cup. I did not appreciate that. That is not okay. Don't do that to people, whatever the situation. I understand also that at the time there was a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear. And fear, at least in my opinion, is the opposite of love. When you remove love, you will have fear. In order to combat that fear, you have to inject love, as much love as possible. And for many of the medical personnel that were on the ground during that time, that's love. That was love. That was love. That was love. It came from a real place. It came from a real place when everyone else was just falling into fear. They chose love. And we have all of this research now. People are living much longer, much better quality of life. That's love. That's love. It is the opposite of fear. So my book, I decided to choose love instead of fear. Okay. So that was my inspiration to kind of allow those people that were unseen to be seen. Okay. They deserve a voice. They deserve a space. Okay. Not because, and even today, when someone gets a diagnosis of HIV, it is still earth shattering. It is still earth shattering. And for many, they just can't find hope. And hope is like the last to die. Okay. And that lonely space, I wouldn't wish it on anyone because we need the connection. We need the connection. Okay. So that was my inspiration for my book. These people, persons who lost their battles, persons who are currently fighting, okay? They deserve a space. They deserve love. They deserve to know that they should be loved and expect it. So yeah, that was my inspiration. That was my
Right.
inspiration.
And Emmy is asking, what is your podcast about? When we get to listen to it, what do we expect? Yeah.
Okay, so my my podcasts were really or are really about my own personal journey to educate myself. Okay, to educate myself. I also found out that within my circles, no one talks about HIV or AIDS. Okay, there's no conversation about it. So I wanted the information. I wanted to ensure that the things that I put in my book, because when I wrote this book, I did consult with, I mean, I had a lot of questions myself. I had many questions, and I consulted with a lot of persons who are in the medical field, and of course I did my own research online, all of that. But I never just sat down and talked to someone about their experience or their story. I certainly never spoke to anyone who was HIV positive before I wrote this book, because at that time I didn't feel worthy of stepping into someone else's story. My book is fiction. So I have the liberty, okay, of feeling free. And whenever I'm ready, I can shut my computer and I'm off. Someone who is HIV positive does not have that liberty. So I did not think it was my place to step into someone's story if I wasn't going to add anything. Okay, this is why I didn't speak to anyone. But after publishing this book, and certainly after I did the virtual book tour last year, I felt, and of course, I was advised, Nicole, do it, do it. Okay, persons have their stories, give them the platform to speak on it, allow them the space. Okay, so of course I did, and it was a wonderful experience for me. Absolutely, absolutely wonderful experience. I learned a lot, and I was able to have very many conversations with amazing, amazing people. Amazing people. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Okay. Thank you so much. Will your future podcast be more in the same vein, speaking on your own personal journey and education? Yes. And Emmy saying, love to see passionate women.
thank you. Thank you
Amazing.
so much. Thank you. Um, I I think that definitely my future podcast will be something from my own experience. Okay, I'm not exactly sure where it will go, but my writing, as I said before, is like such a part of me that, especially now that I'm working on If Love Had a Soul with more adult content, okay? Um, who knows? Maybe it will be along those veins. All right. If you have any suggestions, of course, let me know. Okay. Let me know. But I am still trying to find my angle. Okay. That first, the first set of podcasts, I needed that education. I still need more education. Lord knows I don't know everything. Okay. And I'm always in search of new knowledge, at least new to me. Okay. So I'm not exactly sure what the topic will be, but you can rest assured it will be very juicy. Very juicy.
I love the jerseyness. I love the creativity. I love the passion. And Emmy is saying, I could give you some steamy stories of my own. She's joking, she says in the comment section. Jenny also mentioned that 50 Shades. Yeah. So they're having a good time in the chat. Please, Nicole, check in the chat box. And while you check in the chat box, I would love to say thank you again for being here on the Global Love Podcast. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to collaborate with the Visual Book Tour 2024. This is going to be the first episode on the Visual Book Tour, but next Friday we'll do another episode with another amazing author. We're looking forward to all the viewers or people who'd love to listen to show up on that episode as well. The episode has been recorded and it will come in publication on YouTube and at various podcast platforms later. Sure for you to check that out, and also create the show notes where we'll set up the links on Nicole's Books website, podcast, and an email address. We hope that the audiences can tap into her creativity and speak to her, give her support, whatever possible is needed. And in the final words, because I'm really crossing my fingers that the network has been so amazing so far. And in our final stage, Nicole, what would you love to say finally to the audiences, especially those who have already read the book? Speak to those who have read the book, those who are going to read the book, and those who are maybe thinking of writing their own stories. What are your final words to these people? Thank you so much.
Okay, for those persons who have read the book, just give me a moment. Okay, I promise you, you are going to love book 2. Okay, I will not disappoint you. I promise you that. Okay, you don't have to keep messaging me. You don't, you don't have to keep messaging me. It's coming. Okay, for those person who have not read the book, go out and get yourself a copy. You can get the electronic version. I prefer the paper, okay? So much more intimate when you have the paper. It is a very good read. It is a very good read. It is also a nice gift to give to someone, okay? Not everyone is a reader. I get that. Hopefully, the movie will be for you as well. Okay, but you can also give it as a gift for someone who is writing or in the writing process, or you are about to publish or you've just finished your work. Do it. Okay, do it based on your own convictions, but also think about all of the books that you have read. All of those writers had to go through a lot of self discovery, a lot of letting go. A lot of letting go. You owe it to them and to your prospective audience, because there is someone who you need to reach. Okay, do your part. All right, they will find you. Don't worry. Don't worry. And I also know that writing, it is a solitary exercise. Okay, even if you're collaborating, there is some amount of yourself that is there. Okay, and you need to allow that space for someone else to enter. Okay, I also know when it comes to the confidence to allow people into your head, I was there, and I can tell you that I am happy I published. I'm happy I published. Another very important point is that your book is never done. Stop aiming for perfection. Stop. It's never done. Okay? It's never done. It's never going to be perfect for you. All right? But your audience, they will love you. They will find you. Give them the opportunity to do so. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to the other writers, and you owe it to them. Yes.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for being on the Global Love podcast. Thank you for all of you tuning in. This is Jennifer, and Annie, thank you so much. God bless you all. And this is the Global Lab podcast. I was your host with the amazing author, Nicole. I want and I hope that all the audiences and anyone who has resonated will be able to go and read, get the copy, support her work in different ways. Thank you so much. And I'll stop the recording now.